Hey babies. So I figure I'm gonna start this series called The Truth About, right? Since one of my many jobs here on this earth, my assignments is to bring truth and light and clarity to situations. Um this one is gonna be titled The Truth About Gemini. Ooh, the truth about Gemini. One of the reasons that I'm doing this series is because I feel like Gemini, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Gemini sun, y'all. I feel like Geminis always have gotten a bad rep because we are severely misunderstood. Um, so, I'm going to tell y'all some little known facts about Gemini. First of all, let's start with people say, oh, that zodiac astrology BS is BS and yada yada yada, right? I will say this. I believe that we are on timelines when we come here, when we incarnate on this earth. We're not, first of all, we're not here for just no reason, right? We're here to learn lessons and teach lessons, which is karma and dharma. We're here to grow, to evolve as a soul, I'm not talking about the flesh, right? Although that may be the case for some people. Some people's assignments are here to study and evolve the human species, right? I'm talking about on a soul spiritual level, though. So, I feel like Gemini is downplayed a lot when you think about the most important. Like, I sometimes just go and I do like most whatever, right? Nothing positive ever shows Gemini at the top of the list, right? It's always most annoying zodiac sign, like most bipolar, that just usually disparaging stuff. And so I figure, since I've been studying zodiac astrology, but more in particular the sign of Gemini, I want to talk a little bit about that and do a little bit of education for those who are curious and interested. And there are plenty who are curious and interested because I see cross watchers all the time in our readings. We have like the number one. And it's probably usually for Gemini men who I argue are usually narcissistic and self absorbed. Right? And Gemini women are so different than that. But I'm here to provide a little bit of clarity in the mess of the situation. Right? Yeah, so I want to say that I believe we are on timelines, and I believe that we chose our zodiac signs based off of our assignments, what we've come here to do. I feel like they were used as like a setting, if you will, or how can I say this, like a baseline setting, for who we are on a soul level. Kind of like baseline settings, right? So I feel like many of us chose our signs for a reason. I feel like Gemini is the divine messenger, the shedder of light on dark, right? Because I feel like Gemini is the sign that represents duality, right? As above, so below. Y'all know the spiritual laws, right? As within, so without. What else? Y'all know those. There's several of them. But I believe that energy is representative of Gemini, duality. one of the things people have to realize is the devil is God's child as well. Satan is God's child. God makes everything, the Most High, right? With the light, he made the dark. But we are all God's children. And I feel like when they show like people's conscience, which is their conscious, but is represented by the angel and the demon on the shoulder. Or should it go angel and demon? Left side is when they say left hand path, the left side represents like spirituality, femininity, which is why it's called women's intuition, woman. This is why I feel like mostly all women possess divine feminine energy, and most of them are intuitive and psychic. Gemini is the representation of that, right? We got the good side, we got the bad side, we got the angel and the demon. I don't know why I want to do angel on this side, but it's interesting. Well, spirituality, right? And that just goes to show, like, Satan was an angel. No, I'm not advocating black magic, right? But I am advocating not judging those who do participate in those things. First of all, it's not up for us to judge. It is up to us to defend ourselves. We can call on defense, but we have all the tools that we need here physically to defend ourselves, right? And I don't think that we're wrong for engaging in that. I was just thinking in my car, right? How many of you know this? I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right? How many of us knew that? I know that's mostly for old school, because I know my daughter said she doesn't know what that is, and they don't make them say that, or she's heard it before, she knows what it is, but they're not forced to recite it. And many of the people from my generation know every morning before school started, before you did anything, right? You said that Pledge of Allegiance, and you put that hand over your heart, and you did that pledge. And then right after that, it was it the national anthem? We had to stand, and we had to put our hand over our heart. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a contract. That is that's literally a pledge of allegiance. That's literally a ritual, right? And so my point of that is, I don't know why I had to segue into this, because I'm a Gemini and I'm thinking about 50 million things at one time. But it's literally like the systems, the powers that be, the matrix, put us here, and then as one of the settings that they try to set for us is like, don't do any magic. Magic is bad. And this book says it, and this is the book from God, and blah 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 blah. But it's like in every situation possible, we are forced to participate in rituals and spells. I know I already mentioned on here about the birthday cake and the candles, and making a wish, which is an incantation, which is a petition, which is a spell. Yeah, so it's like, and it's like we're living in the upside down, like what's right is wrong and what's wrong is right. We've been forced to serve the way they want us to serve. And that vehicle that was used to do that was the Bible, And people are so, insistent on hanging on to the lies. Like, they want to persecute you because you woke up and you realize, wait a second, this is a simulation, this is a part of the matrix, and I no longer want to participate. Like, again, back to that, I keep getting all this. It has a couple thousand. It has a lot of likes. The comment that I wrote. That's why I keep getting notifications about it. But it's a lot of people who are mad because I literally say I don't feel the need to talk to my family. Like, people don't realize family is just. Have you seen The Matrix? Yes, it's exactly like that. These are, it's, in my case, these are, like I watched the Truman Show when I was little, and it like awakened me in a way that I can't explain. It just let me know that all the weird stuff that I was feeling was not weird at all. It was simply just me operating in duality of managing the physical world and the spiritual world simultaneously. And I feel like that's how Gemini kind of got the bad rep of being crazy. It's not that we're crazy. Like I always say, when we diagnose people with mental illness in this country, are we diagnosing a broken brain, or are we acknowledging that here's a brain who lacks filters? Some filters are all filters. When someone experiences a hallucination, are they crazy? Or is their brain just seeing something that the rest of us can't process or see? Yeah. Once again, it goes back to, I am a huge believer that everything in the physical has a spiritual connotation, has a spiritual link, has a spiritual meaning, purpose, explanation, and vice versa. And so, sorry. So yeah, back to Gemini and the Masters of Duality. I feel that's why we get persecuted a lot. And downplayed intentionally. One thing about a Gemini, they always will possess some talent. Usually it's in entertainment. I used to just act when I was little, and you'll notice a lot of this is when I was little, because I feel like a big part of that. First of all, people have to understand, Aries represents the father of the zodiac. Taurus represents the mother of the zodiac, ruled by Venus, right? Aries ruled by Mars. Mars and Venus are the male and the female representations of the planets, right? Gemini, which is the third sign of the zodiac, is the child of the zodiac. Gemini energy is creativity, is imagination, is like I tell people, when people are channeling spirit, right, or when we're getting messages from spirit, it's literally like a communication. It's like a translation, right? It's like a translation in a language for some of us that doesn't exist yet. So sometimes it's hard to relay that information. Gemini is the segue. You know how they say babies and children have the most spiritual connection, has the most propensity to experiencing seeing through the veil or past the veil or beyond the veil, because they have that closer connection, because they literally just came from the other place, right? They have the shortest amount of time in between when they were on the other side, so they are more sensitive, is what I'm trying to say, to that energy, right? And that is literally Gemini. Gemini, the babies of the zodiac, are super sensitive to that other side, right? So we're operating in between both worlds. And that's why I feel like Gemini is often misunderstood. And misconstrued, right? People have a hard time deciphering the energy. And that's why they get it wrong, because Gemini is the number one slept on sign. And these are all just my opinions and my observations, right? We're slept on the most. And that's why people always try. I was just looking, right? I had my daughter watch The Wizard of Oz, which is another example of duality, right? Because I was explaining to her that the beginning of the film is in black and white, and that film is the first film where movies were available in color. And it literally happens in the film. In the beginning, it starts out as black and white, and then it goes to color, which is Gemini energy, duality once again. But I was looking at me and my daughter were watching it, and then we were talking about Judy Garland, because we often do this thing where we try to guess people's zodiac signs, whether on TV or in real life. It's just a little fun game. But it's also because I told y'all I'm good with pattern recognition. It's recording. I'm recording information. I'm recording for patterns to see through later at a later time. But anyway, when it comes to Judy Garland, she's a Gemini, born June 10th. And we noticed, we talked about some of the atrocities that she was forced to go through. If you haven't read Judy Garland's biography, or haven't just looked into the history of her, I suggest you do that. But she really suffered. And I told my daughter, I said, yeah, see, Judy Garland, she's a Gemini. She was sacrificed, because that's my theory, is that people often use Gemini energy as the conduit between them and spirit, and they use us as the sacrifice to try to gain something. It's the same thing with Prince, who also had a domineering father, and a father who, he had to escape because he wanted to control him. He wanted to possess him. And it's the same thing with Judy Garland. Oh, Prince also is a Gemini. But Judy Garland's mother, that's how she was introduced into the entertainment industry. She was part of a trio with her sisters, or they all entertained or something, and she was the youngest, and for, whatever reason, her mother is the one who took her to her abusers, to what would later be her abusers, right? And her mother would go on trying to control her in her career as she elevated, until eventually she had to get away. And that's another thing I want to bring up about Geminis. Geminis always usually have a parent that's trying to, or just a parental figure, or a dominating figure in their life who tries to control the direction of their life, right? And that's because they're usually siphoning energy, gifts, something from that person, right? Because again, Gemini is the child of the zodiac. So people always try to sun us. People always try to dominate and domineer us and our energy, right? It's loose, it's free, and people try to take it and mold it into what they want it to be. They try to possess it. They try to wear it, put it on. And that's the one of the missions or goals or timelines for the Gemini is to break away from that, right? And it's a lot of people in the matrix who are resistant naturally, right? And that leads me back to the comment where I get a lot of flack of people trying to argue me down when I say, your family is literally sometimes just like in a Truman Show, NPCs who are there to forward a script, who are there as a part of a script. And that's just not what Gemini's, that's just us in general, as that's just part of the setting that comes with incarnating on this earth, right? But especially with Gemini energy. And people are resistant, and that's why Gemini is usually the number one hated sign. I remember when we were younger, I grew up with two older brothers who are also Gemini. So it's been a lot of Gemini energy that I've been studying for a long time, and recognizing patterns. I remember my brother, he's the oldest of the family and also a Gemini. Geminis will usually be mixed ethnicity wise. A lot of them are mixed. Not me though, but he is, his dad is Puerto Rican, his mom is black, but that's something that you'll find with a lot of Geminis, because again, duality, right? Anyway, he told me a long time ago, this was like, I was young, I was like 10, and he's exactly 10 years older than me. But he told me, so this had to be like maybe in the 90s, in the early 2000s. He told me cats are the leaders of the underworld. And I remember laughing like, he's so ridiculous, he's crazy. But he was so ahead of his time. Now that I'm awakened, I don't think cats are the leaders of the underworld, but I feel like they can tap into it. Anubis was a dog, right? Anubis is a dog, represented by a dog. Hecate is represented by a cat. And I told y'all, whenever I'm going through like a spiritual quest or a spiritual journey, the last one, one of the major ones that I went into before I moved into this cycle that I'm in now, I kept seeing black cats everywhere, black panthers, black, and they were my guides at the time. And so he was definitely ahead of his time with that way of thinking. And of course, when he said it at the time, we all laughed at him like he was ridiculous, right? And that's what I mean about Gemini being ahead of its time and being the most misunderstood and the most disliked. Because even though there are many who are laughing, there are some who are not laughing. There are some who are looking and who are concerned because Gemini is trying to reveal what's beyond the veil, as the messengers, right? So anyway, and also we're hated because we will be placed in situations, right? I am my mother's karma. I say this all the time, Oh, let me, I'm talking about 50 different things at once. So, I hope I can remember to come back to that. But Gemini will usually, have a figure an authoritative figure in their life who's domineering, and usually it will be a parent, and it will usually be the parent of the same gender. Not always, but usually. So I have a mother who is insanely jealous of me and envious of me, and who recognized my gifts at a long time, and instead of nurturing those or trying to nurture those, she saw it as a threat. Because she's one of the people who has been assigned to me to try to keep me in the matrix. And so any sign that I was rejecting the matrix was a threat to her. And this is all just my thoughts, no, in any way is any of my story and my view of my life an attack on her. It's literally just she's just a part of my story, right? And literally we're all villains in somebody's story, right? And if you're a Gemini, you're a villain in several people's stories. But she is a Sagittarius, and she is the opposite of me, and that's when that's why I always say, usually, wherever you know a Gemini at, there's usually some karma attached there. You know? And it's usually from past life. 6 is past life energy, right? The number 6. 6 is the 6th month Gemini energy. But I notice I'm always being used as a decoy, as a spiritual decoy, as a spiritual bait, because I'm a test for people. One of the tests was my mom. I remember one time, right, just to give you an example. I told my mom, Spirit told me to do this. She had no idea that I was literally on assignment. She thought I was dumb enough. Because that's what I'm saying. Like, Gemini energy is always misunderstood, or always discredited, discarded, how can I, severely overlooked. So while you sitting over there like, oh, that's just Gemini, I don't have to worry about Gemini, they're dumb, right? Little do you know, Gemini is on assignment to make you think that they're dumb, so that when I administer this test, you will have no idea that it's a test. Right? So anyway, God told me to tell her that I felt like I was going to win the lottery. Right? And God gave me the numbers. And I told her what numbers it was. Right? And I was like, don't go play my numbers. She was like, I'm not going to go play your numbers. And a couple days later, and it's like Spirit will always let me see. I will always catch it in the act. A couple days later, I walked in her house, and Spirit was just like, look up there. And there was a lottery ticket with the same numbers that I told her not to play. Right? Because it was a test. It was a test for me, so I could see, number one, that she was not to be trusted. And number two, it was a test for her, right? To see, to see if she would try to interfere, intercept, or take part in a blessing that was designated for me. It was a test to see if she had any honor, morals, or dignity, and she didn't. She failed. And of course the numbers didn't come out. But that's what I'm saying. Anyway, that's for the Dark Worker in the Family series. But yeah, that's just an example. They will always have a parent or authority figure, usually a parent of the same gender, who is in strict or direct competition with them. They just want to covet them, like Prince and his dad. And there's been several people. JFK, remember? Gemini, his dad put him out there and wanted him, and he chose the path of presidency for his son. He wanted it for the other son, who unfortunately passed away during service. And so he put his son out there, and he told his son, you are going to be the president of the U.S., because he couldn't do it as an Irish immigrant. Who else? Donald Trump and his dad. His dad, he followed in his dad. I don't even want to talk about Donald Trump, but who else? Angelina Jolie. She's one who the parent was the opposite gender, because she has some contention there with her dad. I'm not sure about her relationship with her mother. But there was definitely something there with her father. They did the same thing. And He got caught talking to the press about things that she told him not to tell her, not to talk about, even when they had a fractured relationship. So, yeah, Kanye West, his was with the opposite, his mother, who pushed him out into the spotlight. And she was more so of a supportive role. But when you watch Sloan Bella's episode on him, his mother comes up quite frequently as if she was the orchestrator of his contract with you know who, you know what. So yeah, if you can resonate with what I'm saying, it's worth just taking a look into, especially if you're a Gemini and you recognize that type of pattern with your parent. And I'm not saying this will be everybody's parent who's a Gemini or authority figure. You know, it won't be every Gemini, but this is just a pattern that I've noticed with this particular zodiac sign. Yeah, so we always get people, and it's not, it doesn't even stop there with parents, because we get people in the form of relationships and in the form of friendships who try to dominate and who try to they think that they are they underestimate Gemini's energy, and they overlook Gemini's energy mistakenly, and so they think that Gemini doesn't recognize certain patterns, but Gemini recognizes. Gemini just doesn't say anything until they have enough evidence built up on the case against your ass that you didn't even know that they were building, because they were always appearing to be going along with, until that one day. And this hints why Gemini gets the two-faced, because it's not two-faced. That other energy was there, you just didn't recognize it. You weren't on the frequency that Gemini was on. You didn't recognize that they're operating from two separate places at one time while you're operating from one. You didn't understand that when you did that Gemini twin that's always there, you just can't see it, which is their higher self, was overlooking the entire situation in its entirety. And Gemini saw what you did, even though you didn't see Gemini. You didn't think Gemini was smart enough to catch on to what you did. Whole time Gemini peeped. And once they peep the wrong thing for the last time, that's when they walk away. Sometimes they do it silently, but they walk away and they do not look back. And it's not taken serious because of all the chances that we done gave a motherfucker previous to that. Gemini will keep letting you hurt them, keep letting you hurt them, keep letting you hurt them until that final straw, and then they will cut you off and never look back. They will forget you fucking existed ever. They will literally forget about you. They will turn into a new person that you can't even access. They done morphed into an entirely different person. You don't even recognize this person, but this person has literally been there the entire time. When they get hurt, this person comes out. Their alter ego. Their higher self is their alter ego. Is their other twin. That's why a lot of Geminis are single and okay with being single, because we are our soulmate. We are our other half. That's why when many people are in relationships with Gemini, even though Gemini is faithful, they get the title of being unfaithful. Because Gemini you are in a third party when you with a Gemini. Because it's you, Gemini, and Gemini's twin in a relationship. But those personalities and characters don't just stop at the twin. There's several different individuals living inside of us. It's more like quintuplets. how do you say it? Octuplets. It's a couple of us in here, and they just emerge when one of them is hurt as an alter ego, usually, or when the other one is needed, right? I couldn't tap into this scholastic, scholarly Gemini when I was younger. I had too much on my mind, too much going on, too much frayed neurons from the abuse that I suffered as a child. I had to work on. But she emerged at the right time. Now, when I needed her, that version of me, the straight A student, right? But let people tell it back in the day, oh, she's a terrible student. No, there's a version in me who just hasn't been activated yet. That's an amazing student. And that's why Gemini come off as phony, because your goofy ass made the assumptions before you had the full picture. And it's like, I don't even know Gemini. Gemini fake as hell. They nothing like they used to be. You're damn right. Because something called out or activated the other side, another side of Gemini. And everybody does that. Everybody sheds and evolves, or, adds on as they go. But with Gemini, it's more concentrated. It's more, the change is more sudden and drastic. So I gotta go. I'll probably update on this later, but I just wanted to check in. I gotta do a follow-up video to the how I manifested my way out of an unfortunate situation. I gotta provide background information on that and details and how-tos and guides for the people that are consuming this content, and just for my own records. So yeah, I love y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.